I was 21 the winter that I almost died. I'd left Phoenix before dawn, cocky and undercaffeinated, driving a 99 Corolla that rattled every time I took it over 60. I was heading east through the high desert, cutting across northern New Mexico toward Texas. Nice, long, empty highways. I'd done that route twice before in the summer, when the worst thing that you had to worry about was a shredded tire or a jackrabbit. The weather app said it was clear, cold with a little light wind. Nothing about the sky closing in on me. Hell, this was the Southwest. Storms and blizzards aren't really our thing out here, so I didn't give it any thought. But by mid-morning, the world around me had gone gray. At first, it was just a haze on the horizon, like some dust coming up. Then the light started to dim. The first flakes hit my windshield, slow, lazy, and pretty actually. I remember thinking, snow, that's different. I turned on my wipers and kept my foot steady on the gas. 10 minutes later, those flakes were the size of quarters. They slapped the glass in wet bursts, smearing any clear vision that I had. My wipers were crap, rubber peeling, leaving these icy streaks. The defroster fought the cold and was easily losing. A film began to creep up on the inside of the glass, so I wiped it with my sleeve, smearing it more in the process. As you can imagine, this was a problem. Now, I should have turned around then. I should have taken the last exit 20 miles back, but I was 21, broke and stubborn, halfway between where I'd been and where I needed to go. I gripped the wheel tighter and told myself to quit being so dramatic. I was already in New Mexico. I couldn't just flip a switch. Next, the wind kind of rose up out of nowhere. It shoved at my little car in these hard, unpredictable gusts. Snow rolled across the asphalt in little waves, filling the ruts left by the previous trucks. My tires were bald as cue balls, losing grip every few seconds. Little slips would jolt my heart right into my throat. "Stay straight," I muttered. "Just stay straight." But the storm continued to thicken up. The horizon now vanished. The sky, the road, and all the fields melted into the same white blur. The world around me shrank into a weak swing of my headlights and the faint shimmer of lane lines already half buried under fresh snow. But I kept driving. Minutes turned into eternity. My hands were aching from gripping the wheel so hard. I dropped my speed to 30, then to 20, then whatever felt slow enough not to die and fast enough not to get stranded. If I got stuck out here, there would be no getting out. There's no other cars, no other headlights, no taillights, just white, falling, swirling, drifting across that asphalt in front of me. The road was not plowed. 2 narrow trenches ran down the middle where trucks had carved their way throughout earlier. On the other side, snow was piling up like walls. Any small drift that I hit tried to drag the Corolla sideways. My bald tires were not going to win any fights. "Come on, don't overcorrect," I whispered to myself. My dad used to say it every winter. "You jerk the wheel, you die." A hard gust then shoved my car. I slid half a lane before I finally caught it, and for a moment, the road vanished completely, swallowed up by that storm. I eased off the gas and steered the car back into the trench. My heart hammering so loud, my chest started to hurt. I barely took a breath, and under my coat, I was beginning to sweat. Time got strange, slow. The heater hummed, but almost did nothing for the interior. The windshield continued to fog, perhaps from my own frantic breathing. I didn't even bother smearing it again. My phone, of course, showed no service. The storm had indeed swallowed everything now. Then I took note of lights, 2 faint blurs in the rear view, growing brighter. Relief shot throughout me. A plow. It had to be, right? I slowed a little more, planning to let it pass so I could just follow its tracks. My shoulders finally loosened up. Then the lights started ripping. I checked my speed, 25. The headlights grew until they flooded the mirror. I flipped it into night mode. Still very blinding though. Okay, just go around me, what the hell? But instead the lights locked onto me. I couldn't tell exactly how close they were, but my gut said it was only inches. The glare washed out everything. Snow lit up and vanished into the beams, like sparks hitting a furnace. The truck finally swung left. When I saw it through the side window, tall and heavy, plowing through the snow like it wasn't even there. When it reached my window, I turned my head. It wasn't a plow. A lifted white Chevy Silverado, caked in ice and mud, these off-road tires, a bed full of lumber held down with loose ratchet straps. No company markings, no reason to be out here in this storm. The passenger's window was halfway down. His arm rested on the edge of the door, bare and freezing in the wind. A faded tattoo wound across his forearm. Something faded that I couldn't quite make out. I couldn't see the driver, just a silhouette. They both turned and looked at me. Those pale blue eyes locked on me, washed out and empty. Not curiosity or recognition, just this flat stare. We drove side by side for a few seconds, the wind continuing to howl around us. Then he drifted toward me, the passenger smiling like a complete psycho. Not a sudden swerve, more like this slow push. His fender slid closer to my mirror. I eased over to the right, but the shoulder was nothing but deep, uneven mounds of snow. The tire hit one and pulled hard. No, no, no. I corrected left, and he drifted with me. Our lanes became one thin strip of asphalt. His massive truck owned most of it too. The Chevy's side loomed so close that I could see rust along the bottom of the doors. My mirror started to rattle. "Just pass me, please," I said aloud. But he didn't. He eased in again, then backed off like he was testing the boundaries, seeing how close he could get without actually making any contact. The wheel twitched as I hit a patch of ice. I steadied my car again. My mouth was dry as I mulled over my options. Then his engine roared beside me. The Chevy pushed ahead a few feet, then dropped back beside me again. The man did not break eye contact the whole time. He lifted his hand off the door and pointed one finger straight at me. Then he slowly turned his hand sideways and pushed it through the air. "Get off the road." I shook my head without meaning to. No way. The truck drifted over again, closer this time, close enough that I heard the whine of his tires in the snow. My car skidded right. I fought it, kept it on the only strip of pavement that was left, but he kept leaning, and I was running out of road. He dropped back behind me, and for a second I thought maybe this was all over. He'd finally gotten bored, hopefully. Or maybe the storm made him rethink whatever the hell game he was playing with me. But then, that first nudge hit the back of my car, soft, almost gentle, like somebody bumping a foot up against the rear bumper. Then he hit the fucking gas. The Corolla jerked forward, tires slipping. My breath caught as the wheel became useless now in my hands. Don't do this. Another nudge, harder this time. The truck's headlights filled my mirrors, white, blinding, swallowing the entire back half of the car. Snow whipped between us, horizontal, driven by the storm and our speed, 40, maybe 50. I didn't dare look. I tapped the brakes. The Corolla fishtailed, and behind me the truck surged forward and bumped me again, keeping me going the speed that he wanted me to. I tried the brakes again and smelled smoke immediately. I wasn't driving anymore. I was being pushed. The steering wheel vibrated underneath my palms. Every small turn was meaningless. The car wanted to slide, and the storm wanted to bury me. He wanted whatever he wanted. I still don't know to this day. His engine growled behind me, rising and falling like an oversized heartbeat. Then he began to swing the truck side to side, letting his bumper tap my rear fenders, left, then right, little flicks of force that almost sent me spinning. I fought each and every one, hands locked, breath tight. I'm gonna make it through this. Another tap came, harder. The back of my car slid left and I corrected. He hit the right side. I corrected again, slower this time, because the wheel wasn't answering like it should have been. Tires skimming across hidden ice, road turning into glass underneath me. "Stop!" I screamed. But the next hit was not gentle. It slammed into the left fender and the Corolla just gave up. The back end spun. My world twisted in front of me. Headlights, snow, darkness. Headlights, snow. The tires screamed with every rotation. I tried to steer into the spin, but the car had no grip, no fight, no chance. The ditch then rushed toward me, white, huge, and waiting. I closed my eyes during that final spin out, and my car crashed with this muffled thud. My head snapped forward, the seatbelt locked and crushed my throat. Snow exploded around the car, covering the windows in the thick layer of white. The engine coughed and then suddenly died. And then for a moment after that, everything was silent. The truck roared past me. As it did, I heard a man yell something that I couldn't quite make out, followed by a bottle bursting against the roof, showering the car in a beer that froze before it could even slide down outside the car. He never slowed, he never checked to see if I was alive, just tore off into the whiteout and vanished. I sat there shaking until the adrenaline finally wore off, my phone finally finding this flicker of service. I called 911 and gave them nothing but guesses about where I was. It took an hour for the officers to come and the tow truck to reach me. The cop checked me over, listened to my story, and swept the highway for that Chevy. To my knowledge, they never found it, of course. He said the locals like to drive crazy during the storms, sometimes messing with pass-through traffic. And I guess it's just my lucky day.
Hello, my name is Heather, and this story took place a few years ago. I often stayed home alone for a couple of hours, but this particular night my parents were out of town for the weekend, and it was the first time I had to sleep alone with no one else in the house. This didn't bother me though, because I had just finished a stressful report for school that took a whole week, and I was ready to relax. My parents left at around 8 p.m. that night, and I decided to put a movie on and eat some pizza. It started raining heavily out of nowhere, and when this happened, my parents always told me to go outside and pull the pool cover out and over the pool. This was because if we didn't, the pool would overflow. Anyway, I was kind of nervous to go do it because it had already gotten dark outside, and behind my house was a forest where wild animals often came out at night. I decided to wait the rain out to see if it would stop, but after 20 minutes, it didn't. I sighed, then decided to put my fear aside and go to the backyard. I turned on all the deck lights and walked toward the pool. That's when I noticed something weird. The pool was already halfway covered. I was confused. It had only started raining 20 minutes ago, and I didn't think it was covered when my parents left, so why was it covered now? I tried to convince myself it was the wind, but deep down, I knew it couldn't have been. The cover has to be manually adjusted. Still not convinced it was the wind, I approached the pool with caution and continued to cover it. Then suddenly, I heard a noise. It wasn't anything crazy, nothing more than a branch swaying in the wind, but I was already on edge, so I noticed it right away. As I looked into the darkness of the trees, that's when I noticed a flash of light. It was very quick, like whoever was holding the flashlight realized I was looking. This made me extremely nervous, so I quickly ran back inside, locked the doors, and went to my room. Since my room faced the backyard, I made sure to keep the deck lights on so I could look through my window and see if anyone was there. I began trying to calm my mind down, so I started knitting in my room while periodically checking my window to see if there was any movement. After about an hour, my mind calmed down and I stopped checking as much. Then, just one last time, I looked out of my window and saw that the pool cover had come off again. This time, it did look like the wind could have pushed it backward, so I went outside once again and covered it. The rainstorm had slowed down, so I knew this was probably the last time I had to do it. After a couple of hours, I decided it was time for bed. I double-checked all the locks and made sure the alarm system was on. If you're wondering why I didn't turn the alarm on before, it's because it's an automatic system that turns on every night at 11 p.m. I turned off all the deck lights except one, the motion sensor light. At this point, my parents had called to check in, but I didn't want to worry them, so I just told them that everything was okay, which technically it was. There had been no movement in the forest so far. Then I went to sleep. I woke up at around 2 a.m. because the motion sensor light turned on. I slowly got up from my bed and peeked out my window, which was right above it. As my vision adjusted, to my confusion, I noticed the pool cover was off again. Was this some kind of sick joke? Did whoever was doing this just want to keep me coming outside? I looked into the distance, but saw no lights or movement. I went outside again, this time with a knife, and walked up to the pool to cover it. That's when I noticed it. To my horror, there was someone inside my pool. For context, even with the cover on, there was still enough room for someone to comfortably breathe. They were dressed in all black, with a hoodie on in the farthest corner of the pool. I was in shock. Then suddenly, they started swimming extremely fast toward the ladder, which was right in front of me. And when I say fast, I mean unnaturally fast. I screamed, stupidly dropped my knife, and ran inside. As I was locking the door, the person, who I now realized was a man, ran up to the glass sliding doors and started banging on them with the knife. I was horrified. I called the police right away and hid in my bathroom until they arrived. My parents came home shortly after and informed me they had actually covered the pool completely before they left. So the man had been lurking in my backyard for even longer than I had thought. The police caught the man and arrested him. They later informed my family that the man was homeless and had previously been a professional swimmer who had won a lot of medals. This made sense considering how fast he swam. Anyway, this happened to me a few years ago, and I still can't look at pools the same. Even now, when I recall the moment that man started swimming toward me at full speed, I still get goosebumps.
This happened to me Wednesday night. So my boyfriend lives in the town over, and he orders me lifts back and forth to go and see him. We've been doing this for over the past 7 months without any problems. But we spent the day together and had an amazing time as always, and he ordered me a lift back home. The guy pulls up and my boyfriend puts me in the car and gives me a passionate kiss goodbye. The driver is from Cuba, hardly speaks a lick of English, and is using Google Translate the entire time to talk to me. First, it started off as, "Do you mind sitting in the front seat? I don't like for people to sit behind me." Okay, no problem. However, instead of letting me out of the car, he asks me to climb over the seat, which made me feel a bit uncomfortable, and then I realized that he was staring at me the whole time that I'm doing so. Then he proceeds to tell me, "I hope I'm not being too daring, but you're very beautiful." Okay, cool, I get this compliment all the time, so I say thank you, but I'm a bit put off by this, to be honest. He goes on like a regular driver, asking me if the music was okay, and the volume and all that, the regular stuff. Then he starts asking me about the address that I'm going to. "Am I taking you to your home?" I reply, "Yes, I'm going home." He then asks, "Can I go home with you?" I laugh at this and say no. He asks about the guy that put me in the car, if he was my boyfriend or my husband. He's my boyfriend, my soon-to-be husband. He asks, "Can I be your boyfriend too?" I say absolutely not. He asks why not. I say that I'm totally against that I'm in love with my boyfriend very much, and that I'm extremely loyal and faithful to him. He says he doesn't have to know. In Cuba, we believe in having multiple partners, and not all of them know about each other. And I say, well, that's definitely not a thing for me. I don't believe in that one bit. He says, "Your boyfriend makes the mistake of sending you home alone. I would have taken you myself to make sure you got there safe." I'm getting very upset at this point, and I'm only laughing at what he says, trying to maintain a friendly composure because I know how ugly things could turn if I start giving this guy attitude. He doesn't speak again for a while, and when he does, he asks me again if he could come home with me. I tell him no again, and he says, "You're so beautiful, I really want to be your other boyfriend." I don't even say anything but shake my head no and start fidgeting with my phone. He tells me that he has a lot of money and that he would take care of me. I told him that I didn't care about that and that I wasn't interested. He asks if he could give me his number so that we could text each other, and I say no. After what seemed like an eternity, we pull up to my house and he gets down trying to help me with my bags. I decline his help and he tells me, "Hold on," and pulls out his phone one more time and asks, "Can I come inside with you?" I tell him have a good night and to have a safe trip back, and dart inside as fast as I could, locking all the doors behind me, calling my boyfriend immediately so that he could report this weirdo because I don't want this unpleasant experience to happen to anybody else. In the end though, the only thing Lyft did was give my boyfriend a $5 credit to his account for the unpleasant experience. He wasn't even able to tell him. He really wasn't even able to tell them why it was so unpleasant. And look, I know, stories like this aren't actually the scariest or creepiest ones out there, but if you were a young woman and in a stranger's car like this, and they were pressing like this and trying to come into your home and everything, trust me, going through something like this is actually pretty terrifying. So yes, ladies, creepy drivers are definitely a thing, and please, be careful out there. So I'm a man living alone in an apartment, for reference. I was walking into my building this evening and a lady that I've never talked to before and rarely even seen said hello. I'm personable and polite, so I said hello back and went to walk into the building. Then she asked how I was and how the weekend was going. I assumed it was just some friendly small talk, so I obliged, and then immediately she asked where I worked and how long I've lived in the building for, which threw me a little bit but seemed innocent enough. Then, about as soon as I finished answering, she said, "No one has ever helped me or offered me help my whole life, and I'm just trying to better myself, but nobody will help. People don't ask me to go out and do any fun things, and I like to do fun things. So I just kind of stammered something about how that's rough or whatever. Again, immediately once I stopped talking, she started up the same thread, a bit frustrated and exasperated. I don't have any friends. No one offers help. I'm just a nice person. I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically it. This whole time she's like barely blinking though, won't break eye contact, and is kind of cornering me as well. My hair on the back of my neck is up and my skin is crawling, and my super came out and said that she needed me for something and got me inside. She then told me that I really shouldn't be talking to her. I said that I thought maybe she was just lonely and socially inept, but she said to avoid her. Women like this seem to have a good instinct about dangerous or unhinged people, so I plan on following her advice, but as someone with friends on the spectrum and having worked with the mentally disabled in my life, I at first thought that maybe it was just that. Now, it's been a few hours and honestly, I still cannot shake this uneasy feeling. I thought that I would ask anybody here if they knew what this might be, or maybe if this is ringing any bells or setting alarms off for anyone, because I don't want to treat someone who is just eccentric as a pariah, undeservedly too. But honestly though, I would be lying if I didn't say that my gut is screaming for me to be careful.